You're listening to the KB Podcast Network.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to this bonus special episode of the Kingdom Bringer podcast. I'm supposed to be on hiatus. I was planning on taking a few months off, but the world's a-changing. Stuff is going down. And I felt like it was my responsibility as a content creator, as a podcast creator, a podcast producer, to get on here and not just take advantage of the opportunity, but use this as a platform like it's meant to be, to get my thoughts, my emotions, my feelings, my encouragement out there to the world. So we're going to do that. This episode was spawned from my feelings during all of this chaos after George Floyd's death and the fires that ensued and the way that people are reacting and the way that the country is going and feeling right now. And I posted on Facebook a message that I just really wanted to have an honest conversation. And I feel like many times, when it comes to race and when it comes to racial issues, there's a lot of folks that don't feel freedom to communicate their feelings in a safe place. And so I put this post out. A good friend. Isn't it cool how these days you can have a good friend that you've never met personally? That's what Scott Ingham is for me. He is a Facebook friend, but you can learn a lot about people from watching how they post, watching how they interact with people through social media. And this guy is just legit. He's solid. He's an encourager. He loves well. And he reached out to me and said, man, I appreciate your heart towards this, and I'd love to sit down with you and have a conversation. In fact, I can round some people up and we can have a discussion. And so I was down with that. And he sent me a couple contacts. One of them was Dr. Clyde Rivers. I was excited about it. And then I started looking into Dr. Clyde Rivers and realized that he is a big deal. He is an amazing man. Let me read a little bit about Dr. Clyde Rivers for you. He is a U.S. ambassador. He is the acting representative to the United Nations, New York, for the Interfaith Peace Building Initiative and the United States Department of Public Information. He is the acting ambassador and director of the North American Division of the Golden Rule International. He is the spokesperson for World Civility Day, Community Civility Counts Initiative. And in 2017, Dr. Rivers won the United States Presidential Life Achievement Award for over 4,000 hours of serving the nation and humanity. And he is the founder of iChangeNations.org. I was honored for this. This was an amazing opportunity to sit down with a black man and a white man and have an honest, real conversation. And that's what this is. So I'm not going to waste any more time. We're going to get right into this. It's a long episode, but it's a good conversation. I think it's a conversation that we should all be having. I would encourage you to find someone that you can be real, honest, and vulnerable with, because I'm sick and tired of the fake, and I'm sick and tired of the disingenuine conversations that are being had. Let's be real. We've got real thoughts. We've got real thoughts, and it does no good to just sit on them. Let's get them out And this was a golden opportunity for me to be able to do that for myself. For myself, there's healing in my heart that needs to happen. There's healing in the hearts of people around you that needs to happen. Let's have these difficult conversations, and that's what this could be for some people. This can be a hard conversation to start and a hard conversation to have. And we did it. And there's more to come. This is where healing starts. This is where true reform is going to happen right here. These hard conversations, these difficult situations that we've never had before. We've never had these conversations, many of us. And it's staring at us right in the face. Let's embrace this moment, this opportunity and time to get after it. I can only do what I can do. I can only talk to who I can talk to. I can only deal with the things that are in my purview and at my table. And this is what I can do. I appreciate you guys listening. Don't forget to check out kingdombringer.com for more content, for more information, for blogs, podcasts. And if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, please rate, review, subscribe, and share. Get this out to your friends. Let's do this, family. Here's my conversation with Scott Ingham and Dr. Clyde Rivers. Enjoy.
Man, I'm great. Good, man. It's an honor to meet you.
I'm glad to meet you too, man. I'm thankful Scott hooked us up. So here's my situation. I'll just kind of fill you in a little bit about where my heart's at. So I am a white man in Kansas, Southwest Kansas. I have very few black friends. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Uh-huh.
I'm just setting you up for this. So,
yeah.
So I had to reach out to Scott to hook me up with a friend. Okay. So that's just to give you a little bit of like truth. I mean, I'm just being straight up with you. And so when a lot of this stuff happens, man, you know, a good friend of mine the other day put out a video where he said there's a difference between inviting people to the stage and inviting them to the table.
Yeah.
And his point was all we can really deal with is what's at our table right now, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just going to be like, I hope this can be a conversation of just like honesty. Cause I am needing that so much. You know what I mean? Like I don't really have an avenue or a place where I can, social media is not the place it looks like to be honest and share your thoughts, you know? And I don't feel like if there's a problem, if there's a real issue, I don't think holding back honesty and true feelings is going to help anything. Does that make sense?
No. As a matter of fact, you know, these are conversations that need to be had.
Yeah.
You know, because if you look at it from God's perspective, we're all the same family. So, and you know, one of the things that I think, Darin, is people lose sight of the fact, even as Christians, we lose sight of the fact that the gospel is for everyone. The gospel isn't race preference.
Yeah.
It's for everyone. And I think at times as believers, one of our greatest battles is this: man's tradition makes the word of God of no effect.
Yeah, man.
And this is kind of stuff that I like to really talk about.
That's good. Will you do me a favor and just kind of introduce yourself a little bit? I could read. Here's the deal. I read a little bit of your bio, and I kind of thought I might need to put a suit jacket and a tie on. So if you don't mind, could you introduce yourself to the audience a little bit for me?
Yeah. I'm Dr. Clyde Rivers. I'm the World Civility spokesperson, and I do, you know, so many things. I'm the president and founder of I Change Nations. We have established cultures of honor in over 120 countries. I work with every different culture, and so those are just some of the things I do, and Darin, as a believer, man, I just believe there's a different standard that we have to live under.
I agree. And where are you from, Clyde? Where are you currently at?
Victorville, California.
Victorville?
Yes, Victorville, California.
Okay. And Scott, you're on here too, man. Will you introduce yourself for me?
Yes, sir. I'm Scott Ingham down here in Canyon, Texas, just a little bit below Amarillo, Texas, and I'm a sales rep for a German company and out there pounding the pavement every day. And I actually met Dr. Rivers, what's that been, 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, that's Scott.
Something like that. And just, man, we've got really good hearts and love people and love watching people be the best that they can be.
Yeah, man. So this is kind of where this originated. This conversation was kind of set up from a Facebook post that I put out where I was really crying out, like, I wish we could just have an honest conversation. And it's coming from a guy who's in Southwest Kansas who I can gladly admit that I live in a bubble. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the times that discussion is attempted, it's just not, it hasn't been beneficial. I'll put it that way.
Right.
Oftentimes, and here's the deal. When we're talking about the current state of where we're at as a country with the issues that are going on, this affects everybody.
Yeah.
This doesn't just affect the black man. It doesn't just affect the white man. It doesn't just affect whoever. And so I'm not going to be in a place where I feel like this doesn't affect me, and I'm affected when I see horrible videos like we watched, I'm affected when I see like life come out of a man, that affects me too. And I reached out on Facebook and Scott gladly offered some ears and a friend that we could have this honest conversation. So
good.
And I'll be straight up too, man. I don't even really know where to begin with these kind of conversations because I don't have them very often,
Yeah.
But I want to give you the floor for a moment. If maybe you could kind of share your heart where you're at right now with this.
Yeah, let me kind of, I wrote a book a couple years ago called When Histories Collide. And one thing that I see that takes place during these times is our historical experiences collide.
Yeah.
And in the midst of historical collisions, we only know what we know, and we don't know what we don't know. So example, if you grew up without having a connection with like African Americans, not because you have chosen not to or not,
right.
It's just so your experience will be different than my experience. Like and see, one of the things, Darin, I talk about in this book is I talk about your history is your truth, and my history is my truth.
Yeah.
So if somebody puts down my truth, they put me down. And see, one of the challenges that I see is when it gets to the old narrative. Well, and this here happens almost in like every case where an African American is shot by a white law enforcement. My black friends say, "Oh, again," and all my white friends say, "Oh, the video's not in yet."
Right.
So I get two actual sides. I'm going. Let us look at the actual truth of each case, because every case stands on its own. But one of the key is right now in America, we're having historical collisions to where someone's history that's seen one picture and someone's history that's seen another, and they're both truth to each other. So people feel like I'm just being truthful, but I'm going, yeah, it is your truth. We can't deny it. But there's another truth on the other side that we have to be willing to hear to gain more knowledge because right now, Darin, we have to chart the way forward for days to come.
Yeah. So I love that. This is where my heart instantly goes to, is because, first of all, I'm not a guy that really spends a lot of time in the past, probably to a fault, in regards to history. And I'm kind of an anti-nostalgia guy. Like, it's like, I'm all about, it's right now. What are we doing now? Right now, stuff's on fire, right? Right now, stuff's getting destroyed. And I get that.
Yeah.
That's just kind of the way that I'm built, is like moving forward,
Yeah.
And I understand how that comes off sometimes as very insensitive, and I get it. I totally understand it. So you talked about truth a lot, and I feel like, so I don't know if I have to keep saying as a white man. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just confusing to me. But I'm in a place where I feel like the truth does matter, and facts matter to a point. And I feel like there's a false narrative out there, for one. And if I can, I kind of hope this can be a conversation where I can talk things through, I'm trying to be cautious, but I'm also like, enough of that. Like, this is what I'm thinking. Tell me where I'm wrong,
Well,
go ahead, Scott. I'm mumbling through my head. You go ahead.
Yeah, you're good. One thing that I talked with Dr. Rivers about earlier is, these conversations are very, very uncomfortable for both sides. And I think our side, it's very uncomfortable because we don't know how to act, or we don't know what to say, or we don't know what's crossing the line. But if we focus on what we want the end goal to be, and that we do have unity in who we are and the direction we want to go, we all want the same things.
Yeah.
And that's where we got to learn to draw that line, is that, yes, they are uncomfortable, but they do have to be talked about. And we have to be honest.
Yeah.
And we have to be forward thinking with that. When you're talking about the history, it is very important, because it's like rebuilding a house. You've got to go back to the foundation of the house, which is what keeps everything up. Even if you redo a house, if your foundation's broken,
that's good.
Let's take a child that grew up in the bad part of town, that didn't have a dad, and he was in crime. That's his foundation. That's his truth. That's his whole life, is what he saw.
Yeah.
And to fix our future, we have to go back to that base, to that history, which, as Clyde said, that's everybody's truth. And that's one thing that I'm really learning is, sometimes I want to be right, or I want to be the one that has the solution, but I don't see the other side of the problem, or I feel too uncomfortable to talk honestly about that. When you're in a situation where you have an African American and a white person, and what do you say that makes you not sound privileged or putting somebody else down? And I think that's where your heart's at too, is let's just throw everything out on the table. Not worry about feelings right now. Let's just get to the truth of what we want to talk about. And that's where the healing and the process to change begins.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I feel like what I've been seeing the last couple days, and it drives me crazy, is just this disingenuousness of, like, for me, that's what my friend was referencing when he talked about inviting people to the stage rather than the table. So, like, if this is an issue, this was an issue last year. This was an issue 2 years ago. This, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so for now, and I'm not against, like, changing direction. It's just like, for me, in my mind, I want to get on board with something if it's the right direction to go. I truly want to live this life of repentance, which to me means change the way you think, right? I want to live that way. So if I'm thinking wrong, I want to know. So help me get on board with what's the right direction, And so when I see all I'm able to correlate with Black Lives Matter is the rioting, like, just because I see it,
Right.
And I have a hard time getting on board with that, because of that. So can you help me out, Clyde? I don't know if I've given you much to help me out with, but I'm in a place of, like, I truly want to stand for what is right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No. And Darin, I appreciate this. Let me tell you, see, See, many times people gaslight issues.
Yes.
They'll gaslight, and they come to me and say, Clyde, all lives matter.
Right.
I go, let me give you an example. It's like my house is on fire, your house isn't. When the fireman comes to your house, nothing's burning.
Right.
When he comes to my house, it's burning. So that kind of a scenario to me is like, hey guys, an actual black life was lost, and everyone tries to gaslight it by saying all lives matter.
Yeah.
Well, until Black lives matter, all lives don't matter. So what happens is let us look at the actual scene of the crime. Let's go to the actual scene of the crime. Is there's an individual that the authority, this is what had me so hurt. The authority, a gentleman with a badge, is God on the street.
Right.
He's God because he can do whatever he needs to do on the streets. A sheriff basically has the power to do whatever they want to do on the streets. When you see the authority with his knee on someone's neck, and I watch his last breath, and you are not arrested right away, you get a chance to go home for 3 days while things are sorted out, and then the very next day, the actual legal assessor for Hennepin County says, we're not sure we have enough evidence to convict the guy. Now you're making me that conversation causes mental illness for people.
Yeah.
I know what I saw, and you're trying to, and then you're trying to tell me where and how to act, and yet nothing in the system protected me. And now I'm the one that has to be responsible and act this way. You can't tell someone how to act when the highest authority in the land that's supposed to protect and serve has murdered and killed. And now we have to wait and be patient. And the history is we've seen so many, as African Americans, we've seen so many cases where we've seen, you got to realize a couple weeks ago, a black guy's jogging down the street, gets shot, gets killed. The actual case was actually written off until somebody finds a video. A month later, shows a video, and we're like, oh my God. So at some point, I think people are asking a whole lot of restraint, but yet nobody else has to use any restraint. So that's our challenge. So until Black lives matter, all lives can't matter if we don't.
Yeah.
And here it is. And Darin, looters, I am so against that. Violence and looting is wrong. It's actually not the way to go. Let me give you another thought. When people say, but these people are burning down their own homes. No, they're not.
Right.
They're burning down what you own.
Yeah.
They're burning down what you own. And let me give you another thought I heard yesterday. Someone said Dr. Martin Luther King failed. He failed because we're still facing the same things that he had to deal with. So that's the mindset from the African American culture. Some, I can't say all. That's just, yeah. Those are some of my thoughts, Darin.
No, that's good, man. I love what you said, Clyde. I listened to one of your videos where you're talking about God's view of this, right?
Yeah.
And man, I desire to be a kingdom-focused believer, you know?
Yeah.
And I do. And I feel like I'm moved to the direction. Like for me, there's the standard that Jesus walked in, and that's it. And I'm gonna miss that oftentimes, but I'm still going after that. Like I can't, anything less than that is not Christ-like, right?
Right.
And so when something like this happens, I want to twist, kind of bend your ear a little bit with this. So when an event like this happens, because I think that most of the country from what I haven't met one person that didn't think that was one of the worst things they've ever seen, with George Floyd. That, I mean, for me, that kind of united the country to a point, if that makes any sense. I feel like we were all unified on that. What's the best way to go from there? Because here's the deal. It happened, right? Like, this event happened. It was awful. It was terrible. What's the best way for us to move forward when this kind of stuff happens?
Let me tell you what I think, Darin. What has caused chaos is it can't be a different standard for law enforcement than it is for me. If I kill someone, you arrest me.
Right.
When they kill someone, it's not the same rules.
Yeah.
And what happens, our Constitution, all we're asking for is our rights.
Yeah.
We're not asking for anything. We're not asking for special treatment. We're saying if this guy died, then justice should be on this side of what's right. Now, and the unfortunate thing is no one listens during peacetime. Like this officer had 18 charges of harassment things against him.
Yeah.
Law enforcement office. And Darin, if we go to biblical principles, what you sow, you reap. If the institution is sowing violence, the biblical principle is it has to reap it.
Yeah.
So let me tell you what I was happy about, Darin. This was the first time I saw police officers bow.
Yeah.
And they admitted it was wrong. How many times have you heard that narrative?
Right.
And how many times do you know that they've seen injustice take place and keep quiet?
Yeah.
So all these things pent up come back, and it means something. And then anyone that's gonna incite violence and make it political, like example, Black Lives Matter. People have a hard time with that institution. Why? Because every time a Black life dies this way, somebody's going to speak up.
Yeah.
And they're going to say Black lives matter, and Black lives do matter. And what happens, in my opinion, Darin, is this is a conversation that we haven't had because we've still been able to hide behind our bunkers.
That's true.
So now having this kind of a conversation allows you to understand me and me to understand you.
For sure.
And again, we actually can't be afraid of hard conversations. And I'd be a liar if I said there isn't institutional racism in America. I would be a liar if I said I didn't believe that. That, in my opinion, is a truth. So if there's inadequacies within a system based on God's word, there has to be injustice that comes back. So I try to live my life out of a biblical worldview.
Yeah, that's good.
Whatever you sow, you reap. You sow. If the system sows injustice based on God's law, God is not a racist.
Yeah, He
loves everybody He created. So based on His law, what James 2:8 says, the royal law is when if you love your neighbor like yourself, you live under liberty.
Yeah.
It says, if you mistreat your neighbor, you live under transgression. That's a biblical law, not a political one.
Yeah.
So now there are biblical infractions that have biblical consequences behind them.
That's good. I have a question.
Yes.
So for me, again, with the George Floyd issue, a death happened, right? A horrible, terrible thing happened. Is it a racial thing? Is it automatically a racial thing? I guess that's my question.
Whether it was the intent or not, it's an old picture that's been seen time and time again. So people only know what they know.
Right.
I'm telling you, what we see is what we see, and anything with a different color is going to be looked at as a race issue. Anything in this country, because those are actually those win political campaigns now. So it actually fractures things. So anything that has any color is going to be construed race, even if it's not, just by actually sheer appearance.
So is that fair? Do you feel like that's the way we should do things?
No. Of course, fair. No. It's not fair at all.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we're never going to see, if that's going to be our go-to, we're never going to see this thing change. You know?
And honestly, realistic, I'm already seeing change.
Yeah.
I'm already seeing the actual young kids that are walking in the streets as all racist. They are saying, not in our generation.
That's good.
You have rallies that are all white people now. You have rallies that are all brown people. You have rallies that are mixed people. So what happens, I think we have to keep this out of our generation's perspective and help put it in the young generation's perspective.
Yeah.
Because they are saying we are not our ancestors. So I'm really encouraged by the young people.
That's good. That's good. I think that's the key, right? Because I hear that a lot. Like I hear that a lot with a lot of the racial tension. You get, you know, the white privilege thing, or you get the disadvantage thing, and at some point, people have to rise up and change that, right?
Yeah, and you know what, Darin? I think we have. I think there's. This is going to sound off base. I think there's an inherent flaw with equity. It's never equal. We need equity of opportunity, not equity of things.
Yeah, that's good.
When you present equity of things, you're always going to have an imbalance because people's giftings are different from God. I mean, I wanted to be Michael Jordan, but I was Clyde Rivers. Yeah. So equity, all people ask for is equity of opportunity, and to acknowledge that, hey guys, there is still institutional racism because man's not perfect. So these are talks that actually need to happen, because, example, I can't buy homes in certain neighborhoods because of the actual zoning laws. The housing committees say don't actually do this for the minorities. So I think we also can't put our head in the sand and act like everything is just and fair for everyone. And sometimes that's just because of human nature. I'm not saying that every African American is the most just person in the world. I'm not saying every white person is unjust. I'm saying, humanity is what it is.
That's good. I feel like if there's ever going to be reform, like we're talking about reform a lot, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's with the police or whether it's with different institutions, true reform is, when we're talking about the human being, we're talking about the changing of the heart, right? Yeah. It's a heart issue. So within, if we're going to talk about institutional racism within the police force, is the change has to happen from where? Within the police force, correct?
Yeah. And you know what? I just don't want to say just in law enforcement.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. Yeah. There's bad doctors. There's bad teachers.
Yeah. And because hear this, I have dear friends that are law officers. They're guys that I love. So I'm not anti law enforcement.
For sure.
I am pro people because God's pro people.
Yeah.
What I think needs to happen, Darin, is please, police, if you have a cop that's not doing it right, if you expect honesty out of us and biblical, if you're going to do it right, you need to expose them for what they are and not hide in your system. So that's all we're saying, because, again, biblical principle, if the system sows injustice, it's going to reap what it sows.
Yeah.
That's a biblical principle.
I'm reminded of Jesus when Peter cut off the ear. Jesus said, "You live by the sword, you die by the sword," right?
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing you're talking about there, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I guess I've just always, and I do think it happened. I mean, there's like this natural reaction to be defensive, you know, within me for sure. Like,
yeah,
I don't even know any black people. How am I racist against black people? Kind of thing, you know?
Right. Right.
I literally know what I see, and that's it. Like, that's all that I know. And I don't want to make it sound like I don't know. I know black people. I'm just
right.
I don't live in a actual bunker, Clyde. I'm
right.
I'm a human. And I just when the race, I do feel like it's race baiting a little bit with some people and some organizations. Because to me,
yes,
why is like murder not a big enough issue? You know, why is like this cop was so out of line, and every cop that was there with him, and I would even say some of the people on the street that watched it and filmed it, should have intervened in some way. I would have.
Yeah.
I would have, you know, tapped somebody on the shoulder or something. Why does it have to go to race? Like, why does it have to do that? I don't know that my heart is settled yet with that. I don't know. Is that something that we're just always just going to have to like be evaluating with each other? Because to me, racism's a matter of the heart, right?
Yeah.
Too?
Yeah.
And that can't be judged from watching a video.
Right. And again, perception is everything. Perception. Example, people have no idea. I'm one of the nicest guys you ever meet. But when I'm walking behind a lady in a mall or something, they clutch their purses.
Yeah.
And this is so we are not going to get past perception.
Yeah, that's good.
Because what you first see, and then it isn't just what you first see, it's what you've been fed through the media. So your historical experiences of what you've seen of a certain culture or certain race, that's why like I mean, honestly, I'm the right person to have on this talk right now.
Yeah.
Because I have dear friends from every skin color.
Yeah.
Dear friends.
Yeah.
And if that's a white person on the ground and a white cop, I'm still as enraged because it's wrong.
Yes.
But I know perception's reality, and everyone's historical experiences personally, what they've heard. See, what I believe the issue is, Darin, is man's tradition makes the word of God of no effect.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I say, man, God, we are praying. And he says, check your heart. Is there a bias in your heart? He says, if my people that are called by my name humble themselves, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, I will heal their land. So if God's not healing the land, we have to say, man, what's the heart condition of his people? Not even them.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think there's a lot of prejudgments that everybody has.
Right. Unfortunately, I feel like it's brought out the worst in many people.
Yeah.
And, you know, me, I feel like a chicken with my head cut off. You know, I'm running around. Yeah. How am I supposed to feel and think and do? And, you know, because in my mind, and I don't know if this sounds insensitive or not, but in my mind, a man was murdered in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And this has turned into some national thing when people die every day.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to belittle it. I just feel like the race baiting has caused the big issue, because when I watch the video, I'm just like Clyde. I'm disgusted, you know? But I feel like I'm being made to feel like I should think differently than Clyde does by the media and by everybody else. And it's like, no, I actually felt the same way you did. A human being was murdered.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I personally don't feel guilty for it, but I feel empathy and I feel sadness and I feel hurt. And now I watch the rioting and the stuff that's going on, to the reactions of it, and I just get pissed. You know? So my empathy has turned to piss, not because of what happened there, but what's continuing to happen in the reactions of people. And I do. And trust me, I believe there's power in like speaking out what you feel. Because here's the deal. If there's a lie or if there's something in my heart that needs fixed, I don't know how to fix it unless it's out in the atmosphere. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I would much rather apologize for my wrong way of thinking than sit on stuff, kind of like what you said, and have these preconceived notions, right?
Yeah.
So where do you see any hope, Clyde? Do you see any hope?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I see a whole lot of hope. And what it is, I think people have to look at, it's always unfortunate when it's politics.
Yeah.
When you mix politics and tragedy, guess what you get?
Yeah.
What we have right now.
Conspiracy theories.
All this stuff.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, as a person, I can look at the scene of the crime and say, this is murder. Whether somebody loots a store doesn't take away from what I saw. Whether Fox News shows a narrative or whether CNN shows a narrative, that's their job, is to sensationalize stuff.
Right.
So my job is to say, hey, this here, what I'm looking at is an infraction against a human being. This here is wrong. Now, one of the challenges is this. What do you do? And this question I have for you guys. What do you do when justice doesn't work for you? What do you do? And then people tell you how to act. The ones that perpetrated against you tell you how to act. It's like, get out of my face.
Yeah.
You didn't do this, and now you're going to tell me how to act? Hey, I'm not some whipping boy that you can spit in, kick, kill, and then tell me you can only protest here.
Yeah.
So at some point, I've been talking to young African American kids that say, Dr. Rivers, we need to get a gun. We believe in the Second Amendment. Dr. Rivers, when actually justice doesn't protect us, what must we do? So that's and then the other hand, I get a call from an African American woman who says, Clyde, they burnt down the market where my husband gets his medicine. Now he can't get his medicine. And this is an African American woman affected by the looting of stores.
Yeah.
So I think we have to really truly step back and say, hey, what's the way forward? The way forward. I mean, honestly, I'm seeing more dialogue now than I ever had before.
Yes.
I'm seeing more people come to the table and say, hey man, let's talk. This wasn't there in the past.
Yeah.
So now it was always like, okay, there's more video. I'm saying, look, guys, great. If there's more video, I understand the actual use of force matrix of law enforcement. So if a guy doesn't have a weapon, he should go to prison, not the morgue.
Yeah.
So I think there has to be more understanding, because Darin, people don't know what they don't know and what they're not willing to let. I think the great thing we can do now is become listeners. Not talk so much, listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I appreciate that.
And that's so good. And can I jump in on that just a little bit? What you said is this tragedy affected me more so than probably, I'm going to say 95% of the stuff that I've seen in the past. And just like you, Clyde, I've seen a lot of people come together and start talking about issues, stuff that they have not wanted to talk about. Kind of like what you said, Darin, you didn't know how to talk about it. You didn't know how to start that conversation. And there's not really a right way to start that conversation other than to start the conversation.
Yeah.
And, I don't know how many discussions we've had within our family and our children and how to raise our children and tell them, this is what's going on. This has been the history in the past, but that doesn't have to be how the future is. And we can never take race out of our discussions, because there's always going to be people of different color. We are one race, human race. We are God's race, but he created us different for a reason. And we have to learn about each other and how to get along peacefully. And, it really has been a crazy phenomenon that has happened out of this. And I do believe that some of it was expanded, and, there was a lot of hate that created hate, but there's also a lot of love producing love. And if we use the currency of love, then what we're going to get in return is going to be so much greater than a currency of hate and, division and chaos. And, part of that for me is to jump into that and jump into those conversations, to start meeting some of these people on the street.
Yeah.
And just learning where they're at. And I'm kind of like you, Darin, here in the Panhandle. I grew up with 3 African Americans in my class, and we didn't know the difference till we were in junior high. But then it's like, once we hit that age and we learned there was a difference, that carried on with us for a long time until I really got plugged in with Clyde. I don't feel like I was a racist, but I think my views on other races was probably skewed a little bit. And so I had to have those hard conversations with myself and on just prejudging people. And like Clyde said, following behind somebody in the grocery store, I've never had to deal with that. I don't know what that feels like. It has to be terrible, and it has to feel terrible. And that really has started just like a toothache I can't get rid of on how do we get to the root of that problem. And for me, it's just having those discussions. And some of that is going to die out with the older generation. But there's going to be a lot of great stuff with the up and coming generations as well. There's a lot of youth getting involved this time that typically would have set out probably in the past. And now they realize they have a voice, and they may not be using it correctly, but they're using it. And if we can help facilitate that dialogue and the way that they're using their voice, I think we've got a huge opportunity still, even in the chaos at the moment.
And and that's what I'm doing. And Darin and Scott, I invite you guys. I'm going to be meeting with actually law enforcement. My team of people is putting together meetings where we will come in and be a part of a conversation with law enforcement. And because at the end of the day, an act of incivility against one is really an act against all of us. Because look at this here. Let me tell you what I believe God is speaking to the whole world right now. We had coronavirus that maybe one individual caught this virus in China, and it shut the whole world down. Mr. Floyd, read the sign of the times. George Floyd was murdered, and I'm watching 50,000 people protest in New Zealand. Yeah. I'm watching 20,000 in the UK. I'm watching all over the world, and I believe God is saying enough is enough. One person is valuable to me. If we can open our eyes and look at what God is saying, not race, not this. He's saying one person, and I spoke something. If God has tears in his eyes over tragedy, then we should have it in ours.
Yeah. That's good. One of the things that I've been really believing in my heart, and it's easy to understand if you're a kingdom-minded person and spiritual and all that, is that racism is a spirit thing. I do believe that there's a spirit of racism.
Yes.
And that's why I think I've always felt the danger in continuing to give it much credit or authority, is because I think as we're kind of seeing a little bit, when we give it the attention that it wants, we see a nation divided. And so one of the struggles, I think, for me as a white male in America, you had mentioned having those conversations with your family. I think that this issue is let's get down to the core of it, and I can only deal with what I can deal with, right? I've got a wife, I've got children. You, Clyde, what would you like to see spoken about from me to my children? What's some things that I should be talking to my children about in regards to racism in America?
What I would do, I would see, man, that's a great question. And let me give you what a perspective I have that people may not agree with, and I'm okay with that. I think we have to do a lot of work on our Constitution. I really think that all men are created equal, but it's impossible for all men to have the exact same things. I believe all men are created equal, but there has to be an equity of opportunity, because everyone doesn't fit in the box to be an entrepreneur. Everyone doesn't have the giftings to be a great ball player. We have different giftings. We have different things. And I hate when I see people hide behind the Constitution as the Bible. Let me explain.
Yeah.
The Bible, the Constitution has majority rules. But basically, God has what he says rules. So man can actually legislate God out in a system of majority vote rules. So when I hear people say, this is godly, this is all godly, I'm going, it's the best Constitution in the world, that I agree with, but it's still not God's. Every social change in the world has been verbally engineered. You can say all men are created equal and make me 2/3 of a man and part animal. Constitution still looks good and pretty, but in actuality, you've talked me into something else. So I see there are biblical principles in our Constitution, and there's also principles that what I'm saying is don't wrap our Constitution in the Bible.
Yeah.
Let it be what it is. There's parts of it that are from God, other parts, like God never set the majority rules in the Bible. He rules.
Yeah.
He rules. His word is truth. His kingdom laws are what is truth. And those aren't voted on. So we have a great Constitution, but to make everyone think this is all God, I'm saying, guys, God never gave us permission to vote him out of institutions.
Yeah.
And then, Darin, let me go to another step. We have a system where God's not allowed in. You can't bring God into certain institutions. So how do we expect these to be holy and righteous when God's kicked out legally?
Yeah.
So these are my challenges. Now speaking with your actual kids, I would say, get to know people.
Yeah.
Open up a relationship with people different than you. Have conversations. Just get to know people, because Scott, as I met Scott, we've had conversations to where Scott and I, we can have deep talks. Why? Because I know him. When Scott came to me and we were talking, I heard his heart. So now we're able to have deep conversations because we have relationship. Now, whenever you have a relationship with someone, man, it takes your conversations deeper.
Right.
So the more that we segregate from each other and stay in our own silos, the more wrong images come out. And Darin, let me tell you this here. I travel the world and I see in other countries, the division in Africa is called tribalism.
Yeah.
Black people from different tribes fighting each other. I see in actually Latin America, it's the same color. So a spirit of division is what it is. So I've seen civil wars where they're all black.
Yeah.
So we have to look at it, and that's why people don't like to talk to me, because I'm going, hey, here's a narrative, guys. Let's go look right over here. I can show you brown people murdering brown people in El Salvador. I can show you black people in Africa killing each other. It's tribalism, racism, tribalism. So it really is a spirit, and I think we have to take dominion over that spirit, because that spirit will divide anything.
Yeah. The main reason I asked that question about the children is because this is what I've I've raised my children to, and I know this is kind of, I feel like every time this situation comes up, this probably gets debated a little bit, but I've raised my children to not see color. Okay. And I don't have to say that to them very often, you know, like I think it's a heart thing of like, we are all humans. We're all God's children. And so I guess my question for you brought up your relationship with Scott. Does the fact that he's a white man impact that relationship whatsoever?
No, but watch this here. Teach your kids to, I would say teach your kids to see color.
To appreciate color.
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because teach them to see color. I say, hey, this is a Mexican American. This is an El Salvadorian.
Yeah.
Teach them to see color, and then it shouldn't matter.
That's good.
Because one of the things that I think people do is everyone sees color. Everyone sees color. I can prove it. Let me walk into a white bar or a white restaurant in actually Alabama. Everyone sees color.
Yeah.
I see color. They see color.
Yeah.
So I think their conversation, teach your kids to see color. But guess what? The content of the heart matters than the outside of the skin. Because watch this here. Skin doesn't have a brain. Skin doesn't have wisdom.
Right.
The mind inside the skin has the wisdom. So skin's not smart.
Yeah.
So how can skin be smarter than another person's skin?
It's good.
Oh, I was just going to say, so I've got a question to just kind of follow up with what Darin was saying. So this is for Clyde. So if we're out and we describe somebody as, well, the black man that was at the Home Depot or whatever, is that a derogatory term when we're discussing like who it was or who we saw or something with our children? And I think, Darin, maybe you're kind of thinking about that too, is I don't feel that that's wrong to, you know, describe somebody as how they are, how they were created, but it's how we also perceive and treat them. So is there any validity to that, what I just said, and how we actually describe people?
I think that's the right way. Say that's a black, that's an African-American man. This is a Latino. This is this, because God gave us color.
Yeah.
So somebody, and I'm actually working with an organization now that wants to erase race. And I said, the way to erase it is to acknowledge it, but it doesn't matter. The content of your heart is deeper than the content, than the color of your skin.
That's good.
I know you're a black man. I know you're a Latino. I know you're an Asian, and you know what? It doesn't matter. How are you?
Yeah. To me, blonde hair is no different than brown skin, right? It's
right. Exactly. And you know what?
Yeah.
And you know what, Darin? See, there are challenges on both sides. There are African Americans that have to deal with their racism. So it's a dialogue at both ends of the table.
Okay, I want to jump in real quick, Clyde.
Yeah.
You said something there that was a question I had written down. So I've heard it said multiple times over the last couple of weeks, the statement that black people can't be racist. Is that true?
No, that's a lie. Anyone that's human can have human can have likes and dislikes, biases and non-biases.
Yeah. Okay.
So see, I think let's not lose the fact that we're humans.
Yes.
We just have different skin color.
Yeah.
We have the same thoughts. We have the same everything. So if somebody can be this, then someone can be that. The actual problem is this. The big issue is we haven't talked like this.
Right.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
The issue now hearing and I think sometimes it's the actual spirit of the question. The spirit of the question is what the problem comes in.
Right.
If somebody asks a question from a bad spirit, you pick up on the inside.
Discernment.
This one asked this question wrong.
Yep.
So now it puts you on defensive.
Yeah. That's good.
As a matter of fact, Darin, at 6 o'clock, I'm the actual global spokesman for actually World Stability Day. So I've created Stability 360. So I'm having an actual town hall virtual meeting on my Stability 360. We have white pastors, brown pastors, black pastors, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to say, hey, look, guys, but at the end, everybody has to have a solution. I think sometimes our conversations end without a solution, without a step forward.
That's good. Yeah.
And I'm going, man, that's just an open-end debate. That's just never going to end.
What do you think what's the purpose of the church in this racial divide? What do you feel like the church's responsibility is?
Darin, let me, I think, and this will be controversial, I think we've earned the title of non-essential. I think we've earned it. Because
that's good.
Every time a crisis comes up, we're missing in action.
Yeah.
We're MIA.
That's good.
I think we need to be the ones saying, hey, 7.8 billion people are made in the image of God, whether they know it or not. And our job is to protect the image of God, which is people. And this is a conversation that I'm having, and I'm doing things, and I'm saying, guys, if you have a true biblical worldview, you have to believe no one's made by accident.
So good.
Everyone is created by God. And Darin, I believe when a life is lost, we lose their God-tribution, their God contribution to the earth. We miss it. What happens if if the gift in Mr. Floyd was to have the answer for the coronavirus?
Yeah.
But in life, he didn't have opportunities. So we have to undo labels and look at God. 7.8 billion people, and they all have a God assignment. So we can no longer afford to have the contributions of God die needlessly.
Yeah.
That's the role of the church, and not to, but if I'm candid, I think that's where a lot of the prejudice starts. I think that's where a lot of the prejudgment starts. Look at our church makeups on Sunday.
Yeah.
It's the most segregated hour, and segregated.
We can barely even worship together.
It's true. So how do we think it's not a solution by title? Right. I mean, we have to get in there and say, hey man, let's sit down and let's have a talk. And I just think we've been so silent on major issues that we make ourselves non-essential.
Yeah. I really believe, man. I mean, you keep hitting the issue about all of us are created. We're all children of the King, right? Of the universe.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we would get that, to me, that's the issue. And that's why I keep asking these race questions, is because to me, if there was a complete lack of disrespect for human life shown by that police officer, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Black or white, to me, if he respected and valued life, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's so much, it makes so much more sense for us to move forward. And, if it takes a few of these uncomfortable conversations, and it takes a few weeks of people letting out their energy and getting in trouble, I'm not doing it. If they want to, I guess that's okay. When they're done, when that energy's ran out, I want us to get back into a place where we are just valuing human life and understanding and believing that each person has value inside of them.
It's real good.
You know what I mean?
It's real good.
And
that's real good. As a matter of fact, Darin, let's do another show, and I can bring some other cultures in.
I'd love that.
Let us start to say every month I can bring 2 to 3 different people in, so we can be part of the solution.
I love that, man.
And we can talk and say, because watch this here. Let me tell you, one of my concerns is people will expect perfection. And I'm saying life is process, people.
Yeah.
So life is process. So what's the next step we can make to make life better and safer for everyone? And you know what? Again, I just think, man, my life, Darin, I was personally mentored by Miles Monroe.
Yeah.
He was one of my personal mentors. And I have an understanding of, see, the kingdom is spiritual, not religious.
It's good.
And people make God the founder of a religion. I go, no, he's the owner of the world.
Yeah.
He's not the founder of a religion.
It's so good.
And Darin, I work, I'm the interfaith peace guy. So I work with Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, everyone. And we get along because we understand one principle, the golden rule. Treat others. And then this is a question that I can tell you, Darin and Scott. I always ask people this. If the shoe were on the other foot, would you be okay with the same treatment?
Right.
If the answer is no, you know we got a problem.
Yeah.
So I just changed the narrative, conversation.
Yeah. It's good.
And that's so good. We've had that conversation many times too. And, you know, earlier we were talking about we're not shooting for perfection. We're shooting for progress. And, you know, progress starts, not in your comfort zone. Creativity is not created in comfort, and we've got to step out of our comfort zone wherever that is, and we've got to shoot for the progress and take the little wins and take the battles. But man, that was just so profound for me. I finally got to the point where you said if I was on the other side of the table saying that to you, how would you feel? Or if I was on the other side of that situation. And then when I really dove into that, and God started speaking to me the injustices or the justice and really how to see it from a different perspective, because I was so closed-minded most of my life. I wanted to see it my way, the way I was raised, the way that I interpreted things. But when I truly started to look through somebody else's, you know, glasses and the way they did that, it really revolutionized my thinking and how I champion people and just want to see everybody succeed and be the best versions of who they were created to be. And Clyde, you've been so instrumental in evolving my thinking and changing my heart and really allowing me to do that. So I appreciate that.
Well, Scott, you're one of the most genuine people you ever meet. And you know what? And hear this. I will never let someone talk me out of what I know. I have dear white friends. I have dear black friends. I have dear brown friends. I will never let people talk me out of the goodness of men's heart. There's great hearts on all sides of the fence. There's evil hearts on all sides of the fence. So we have to make sure that we see, because Micah 6:8 says, seek justice. So I have to seek justice now, but love mercy and walk humbly before my God. That's my call. That's the assignment. Seek justice. So if someone dies, if every radical group in the world is out there, I still have to seek justice and justice will come for them too.
To me, that also means that you don't always have it. It's something you got to seek, right?
Wow. Darin, that's good.
I feel like that would be worded a little bit differently if we all had access to justice whenever we wanted it, you know?
Wow.
But it's something that it's worth reaching for, right? It's worth keeping our eyes open for. And
good.
I promise you that it's conversations like this that are much more beneficial. Honestly, this is more beneficial to me, and I believe to the listeners, than just marching around in circles with catchphrases. I'm all for protesting, and that's great. They can do. You have the right to do that. That's awesome. But sometimes we do that because we're scared of this. You know, And
that's good.
this is
Wow.
going
That's
to
good.
what this is where reform is going to come from, man. This is it right
man.
here.
Right. And you know what?
good.
We're going to do it, man. We're going to have other people on,
Yeah.
other African-American leaders, other Hispanic. We're going to bring, let's bring everyone. As a matter of fact, let's put together a summit on racism.
I love it.
Come on.
You see it? Let's put together. And what I'll do, I'll pull the actual players to the actual table. And hey, you know what? We won't see the actual reform that we desire to see probably in our lifetime.
Yeah.
But let's be the link in the chain.
That's good.
To help people cross over.
That's good.
This
is so good.
This is why I do what I do. And just to have these talks, and man, I promise you, the relationships we build out of our dialogues, oh my man, I mean, you
where there's freedom to express my thoughts fully, I'm there, bro.
Yeah,
I'm there.
Yeah. This is good because these are the conversations, and I mean, in my opinion, with the work I do, you ask the questions that people want to ask but are afraid to ask.
Yeah, I was hoping I could do that.
Yeah, and that's not just on our level. This is on government levels across the world too. That people have the same issues that you and I have, Darin.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to say that. I don't want to ask that question. I don't know how to handle that situation. And chaos is created out of that lack of our voice filling it like it was supposed to.
Yeah. That's good.
So we let fear and judgment silence us when we have a voice for everybody, whether they're black, white, yellow. What's the song we used to sing as a kid?
That's right.
You know, so I'm just really glad that I was able to reach out and we were able to do this, and that's so good. That's where it starts, and those conversations start at the bottom and go all the way to the top.
That's good,
man. I love this, man. Scott, I love this, and Scott, I work at the top too, so we're bringing these conversations around all over.
That's good. That's true. And I won't keep you much more, Clyde, but I got one more question. Scott was talking about progress. Like that's what we're seeking. And I believe that. I agree with that. What I'm going to be looking for is progress in my own circle of influence, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what matters. Like that's what I can impact.
Yeah.
That's what I have access to is my circle of influence or my table, if you will.
Yeah.
And I believe the same for you. So what kind of progress should I be looking for? What kind of progress should you be looking for to know that there's progress? To know that we're moving in the right direction.
Darin and Scott, I have a saying I said in my book, When History's Collide. I said, we have to look for the next positive step we can make together. People say, start with the end in mind. I'm like, no. Start with the next positive step we can agree on. And like example, we have a positive step now. We're going to do meetings with other people.
Yeah.
We have a positive step. I would say, open as you talk to people about these issues. Say, I just ask you to, reserve your opinions until you have a chance to speak with another person from that culture that you can be straight with.
That's good.
Reserve your prejudgments until you can hear a conversation or talk with someone at a good time to where emotions are not high, and you will learn from the culture. So basically engage in conversations at the right time. Like right now, Darin, a lot of conversations are coming at just the wrong time.
Yeah.
Like at the wrong time. And I'm like, guys, you don't want to make it seem like George's life is just scattered in with everybody else's. We know all police aren't bad. We know all lives matter, but can we please deal with the black one that's in front of us?
That's good. No, that's good. And I think people with we've seen people too with these platforms, and this is it's a small platform, but it's a platform nonetheless, my podcast. And there is that, if I can be real with you, there is that tendency of like, you got to strike while the iron's hot, right? And honestly, today was a buildup for me, like emotionally, because of social media. And I'm seeing like huge division within some friendships that are close to me and even families that are close to me. And I was wondering if I was ready for this, to be honest with you, of just because I don't want to say something stupid. I don't want to be an idiot, you know?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think it's a risk worth taking, you know? I think expressing, and first of all, not everybody has a safe place. I can admit that too. Not everybody has a safe place to like let their feelings and their emotions and their truth out. So I would suggest people listening to this find that, because it's worth it. Like, find somebody, open up conversation for 5 minutes and see if it goes somewhere. See if there's a safety net there, because it's worth it. Man, this was good, gentlemen.
Man,
I appreciate you coming on, Clyde.
Darin,
do I call you Clyde or Doctor?
Man, hey, I'm Clyde, man. I'm Scott knows we're just people that really care about the generation, for the kids to come.
That's good.
We don't want our kids to have to fight battles that we could have taken place for them. So there's a greater stakes, bigger irons in the fire than what I'm feeling for 10 minutes. Let me tell you what my great concern is.
Yeah.
Everyone that's like sounding the alarm right now, what are you going to do next month? Are you going to be silent, or are you going to continue to act on the building process? Don't. So I'm committed to these works. And like I said, I would invite you guys to come meet with me as we meet with law enforcement. Yeah. Different groups of people. So we say, hey, look at here. We are unified. We want to go home, and obviously we want you to go home to your family. Yeah. So these are just some things that we have to really look at.
That's good, man. That's good. Clyde, would you mind praying us out?
Absolutely, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Father, we ask for your wisdom to touch everyone's heart. And Father, we just ask that, Lord, you would have divine conversations for everyone that may be struggling now, God. God, put the right person in their path to help them understand, and Lord, to help us all see. Lord, we know you are the one that orchestrates, and Father, the heart of this country is open now, God. And Father, I ask that the spirit of love, Lord, love overcomes everything. Yeah. Lord, may we have the greatest revival of love the world has ever seen out of this. May your prayers, Lord, show us that how valuable each person in the world is, because God, you created them. Yes. God, as we're in this hard time, help us, God. Lord, we won't know what to do without you. So God, help us. And we ask that in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Thank you, Dr. Clyde Rivers. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, guys. Scott, I appreciate this, guys. And Scott, get a hold of me in about a week, and let's schedule the next show. And Darin, Perfect. I'll have some other guys come. Let's move this. Let's be a part of the solution.
Love it. Thank you. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man.